Okay, so moving into the filling stage on some of the panels on the Plymouth, and so with filler comes sanding. So just want to talk about that a little bit. There's lots of fancy sanding blocks available commercially. I'm not going to call these fancy, these are fairly standard. This is a 2-inch board sander. This is a 2-inch block sander. These both take, I rip up this stuff. I think you can buy this. You can buy sandpaper in a roll. I've done that before, but usually what I do is just rip down one of these long pieces to fit in that little guy. But anyways, I should have brought my. Now that I'm talking about this, I built a sander that takes 4 of these pieces of sandpaper. I buy the sticky back stuff, and it's aluminum. I should have brought it out, but it's just a big version of this that I built when I was doing the Batmobile. Anyways, and these sanders here, over the years, I've used a bunch of different things to make sanding profiles out of. A lot of these guys here were used when I built the Batmobile. I'm not even sure if this is actually. I think it might be. You can see I've profiled this a little bit on the belt sander here. Anyways, so this stuff, all these 3 here, 4. These are all made out of impact strips, out of bumpers. You have the you'll have the bumper rebar on a modern car, and then it's got this impact strip material, and then on top of that there'll be the plastic or flexible cover on a newer car. Anyway, so if you go to a wrecking yard, a lot of times you can find these impact strips that are they're all they're broken, they've been hit, but there's lots of good material left in them. So you can I use a bandsaw to cut this stuff, how the shapes I want. And this here, I'm not even, I can't remember why I made this one or what part of the car it was for, but there's lots of reverse curves in that car. And then moving along here to the round profile. This is just a magazine rolled up. Then I just used masking tape to roll it to bind it together. And then there's another sticky back long board piece of paper that I just stuck on it. This is a piece of aluminum tubing, and this here is just, I think this is just the tube that comes inside a roll of this stuff, this round DA sandpaper. And then moving on here, these are all MDF. Oh, that one's actually solid oak. Looks like an airfoil profile. But anyways, this little this narrow piece here would be used to get into a tighter area. There's another MDF one that I made. It's got different angles on it. There again, you can get into tight areas with that. And then this one looks like this one was specially made for something. I can't remember what it was, but it's got two kind of flats here to form some kind of a profile on something. And then the edges are fairly rounded off on this one. So anyways, that's what it takes sometimes. You got to make your own tools, and I like this pipe a lot. I use this pipe a lot, and the magazine. This is one of my favorites right here. It's, you know, it's pretty rigid. It gets stuff pretty straight. And then for the ultimate in straightness, you go to the rigid pipe. But you know, that's what it's all about. If you want flat body work, you got to use a rigid backer for your sandpaper. Otherwise, the soft ones, they just follow in. You know, they follow waves. So, and the longer the better. That's why I made that long. You know, it's got 4 times the surface area of this, twice as long and twice as wide. And for long flat panels, that's what you want. If you want to get them straight, you got to have a long board. All right. All right. So I sanded the first layer of fiberglass filler. You can see where I broke through here, broke through there. Broke through there, and hitting metal all along this edge here. So that's as much as I want to sand that. I basically just wanted to knock off any high spots and basically prep it for the next coat, which is just going to be regular body filler, generically known as Bondo. And then hopefully going to get away with just one more coat of body filler on this door. So and on the rocker panel and the quarter here, you can see I'm trying to kind of round this out a little bit. It's fairly flat through here. I want to give it a bit of roundness. And you can see just about right there, you can just about see metal. So there's no point in keeping on sanding this because you're just going to over sand it. So I'll put another coat on there. And then on the rocker, you can see, let's see here, shiny metal there, see? Shiny metal, shiny metal, shiny metal. Then there's a spot there that didn't take any sandpaper. It's just the raw filler. Then you can see the raw filler, the darker areas. That's all just untouched by sandpaper. Here's some trowel marks here. So I'm going to give this another coat of the fiberglass filler because it's that, you know, the rocker area. It's, you know, I want stronger filler here because it takes rock chips and somebody's big boot might kick it, so I want it to be strong. And yeah, I probably won't put any soft filler material in this area. I will over here, not necessarily on the lower section, but in this area I'll feather it up into here with some softer filler. But we'll see how it goes. I mean, I'm gonna mix up a batch, and there might be enough to bring this up here too. And I may not need to put any softer body filler in there. It might all come up with the hard stuff, the fiberglass. So anyway, yeah, this is going good. All right, lights, camera, action. So there's my filler with the ribbon of hardener squeezed onto it. Got my trowel at the ready here. So I'm just going to go ahead and fold this together. I like to use this folding action. I've seen guys mix Bondo like this, and I don't think that's really a good way to do it. Makes a big mess. And anyways, so I keep scraping it off on the side. Otherwise you get an unmixed layer on your trowel. And start spreading it on the car. You got pockets of unmixed material, and they don't harden up consistently with the rest of the stuff. So just keep folding it over, wiping it, thinning it out, wiping it thin. I like to keep the material spread thin on the mixing board too, because this stuff, it makes heat. That's how it cures. It's chemically, the chemicals make heat, and that helps to cure the filler. So if you keep it spread out smooth, like thin on your mixing board, it won't heat up so much. Especially, you know, it's not. Of course, you need to be mindful of the temperature outside. If you're working in a cold shop, you want the heat to build up. If you're working on a nice day like today, I want to extend my working time, so keep it spread out thin. So anyways, just gonna start putting it on the car, and I always try to get it on the car as fast as I can, because that's where I want it. I don't want it to harden up on the mixing board. I want it to harden up on the car, so that's where, you know, you want to get it on the car as fast as you can. If it hardens up on the mixing board, it's wasted. If it hardens up in the car, at least, you know, if it's too thick in spots, at least it's on the car. And it's, you know, you can sand it down to where you want it, but at least it's on the car. And you don't want to play around with this stuff once it starts to harden up. Just it creates air pockets in your work. So as soon as it starts to kick off, you just want to leave it alone. I don't need a whole bunch of filler underneath here, so I'll scrape most of it off. Got a couple of drain holes down there I gotta stay away from too. I want to plug them up. So see this sort of vibrating motion I'm making here? That's to push it over the edge of that door opening. Okay, I'm going to put this hawk down now. Switch over to my big guy here. Smooth this up, clean it up a bit. See how nice that makes that? Yeah, just messed it up. See this rounded edge here? That's so, when you see, it's not actually touching, but it prevents it from gouging the material when you're troweling. It didn't come like that. I rounded the edge. That looks good. Over here. Nice transition to the rocker panel now. So I only want material in this area, so I'm just going to spread material down where I want it. That's where the seam is. And there's my drain hole there as well. It's not plugged up. Let's mess that up. Pull this edge over into the door opening. There you go. Bring this up here. Yeah, I'll have minimal sanding there. Probably have to put another layer softer filler on this part here. Oops, I just touched it. Just dug a hole in it. Yeah, look at that, I'm just being a goof. Yeah, it's starting to kick off, so I'm gonna leave it alone. You always end up with a little bit left over. And try and tuck it in somewhere, but it's all good. So some people might look at this and say, wow, look at all the body filler on that thing. But, you know, it's really not any thicker than this paint right here. You know, the 2 layers of paint that are on here, it's spread out pretty thin. It might be like a 1/16 of an inch along where the weld seam is, but you know, and this here too, like it's very minimal. I mean, it's covering the whole rocker panel. I'll say that, and it does look like a lot of body filler, but it's really not a lot of body filler. You know, I didn't really have much of a choice here. This rocker panel is all wavy. So I got to straighten it out with something. This is the short of cutting it off and redoing it. This is the solution. You know, and you know, a lot of guys, you know, they'll say, "Oh, I don't use body filler. My body work is, you know, my tin work's so good that I don't need to use body filler." But then they spray on that polyester primer that goes on like super thick anyways, and what do you think that is? It's just sprayable Bondo. So anyways, I mean, I use that stuff too. You know, there's nothing wrong with using Bondo. Bondo has a bad name because it's used incorrectly. You know, if you got a big rust hole or a great big dent and you just fill it full of body filler, yeah, it's gonna fall off. It's gonna bubble. It's gonna do bad things. But if you got a properly prepared panel with a tight weld seam and you know, and it's reasonably straight and where it's supposed to be, and then you clean it up with a little bit of body filler, there's nothing wrong with that. That's what the stuff is made for. And you know, that's part of the reason I like to use the fiberglass reinforced filler and right next to the body, or on a weld seam, or on an area that's low down like this, where it's going to get rock chips. Somebody's going to kick the door opening with their boot and chip the paint, and it's waterproof, whereas Bondo tends to suck up a little bit of moisture. So this is where you got to use this stuff, down low and over top of weld seams that could possibly have a little you know, tiny little pinhole in it. So if any moisture comes in from the back, it's going to be sealed up with this fiberglass waterproof polyester product. So anyway, that's my rant on Bondo, body filler, and the like. One thing I will do, and I've talked about this before. Well, actually, not about what I'm about to do before, but I've talked about this material. The surface layer reacts with the atmosphere, and it causes it to stay tacky on the surface. So when you put another layer on top of it, it molecularly bonds to the first layer. The hardener in the second layer will react with the sticky layer, and it will molecularly bond with the first layer. But the downside to that is when you like, now that I'm close to where I think it's going to be, I'm not going to need any more filler. This sticky surface causes problems with sandpaper because it plugs it up. So what I do, I'll take like a chisel, and I'll go in here and I'll just scrape off as much of that sticky stuff as I can before I start sanding. That way my sandpaper won't plug up right away. Extends the life of the sandpaper. Stop. I can't make the thing stop.